Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Babysitting means paying your kids' dental bills? After that, am I the jerk for telling my housemate his girlfriend can't stay here anymore? And after that, am I the jerk for saying I don't love my niece to her face? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to pay her own kids' dental bills. We'll see about that, Reddit boy. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Babysitting means paying your kids' dental bills? Years ago, I would often babysit my neighbor's daughter who was about 9. He was a divorced father with the kind of an ex that would send spreadsheets of child-rearing expenses calculated to the penny and weekly invoices complete with terms and penalties of her own choosing for late payments. He paid big child support and generally paid her invoices on time because she would cut off access to kiddo if he didn't. His ex, the snake, and I had basic text messaging contact. She and I had a previous dust-up because a sudden weather change necessitated a jacket for kiddo. We popped into the nearest discount store and I let her pick a jacket. Kiddo loved it, but her mother threw a giant fit at me because it wasn't brand name. I blew it off and the neighbor and I laughed about it when he reimbursed me. She gave me the silent treatment. Darn. Time moved forward. Father always reimbursed kiddo's expenses and encouraged fun and healthy activities. One day, he called me and apologized that he was getting held up at work and kiddo had an orthodontist appointment. He asked me to take her, I agreed, and he called the dentist to authorize. We got there and they wouldn't see her without a payment, $225. It was necessary. Kiddo's braces were hurting her. Dad wasn't available, but I knew he would reimburse me, so I put it on my credit card rather than calling her snake of a mother. Kiddo got patched up, Dad reimbursed me, I paid the card and didn't use it. A few months later, I got a past due call from my card company, repeat charges from the orthodontist. I let Dad know and called the orthodontist, who told me I signed an automatic payment agreement. I gave my, "Oh no, I'm just the babysitter" speech and didn't get far with them, so I canceled the card. Dad apologized profusely and he reimbursed me. A month later, I get a nasty call from the orthodontist about my card declining. I kindly inform them that I'm not the parent and I provide the snake's phone number. About an hour later, the snake is furiously calling and texting me. I silenced my phone and looked later. She maxed out my voicemail and all of her text messages were about how wrong it was of me to deny her kid medical care. One voicemail was from the police letting me know that she filed a complaint, how I could get a copy from my attorney, and inquiring about whether I wanted to counter-complain. I sure did. I moved out of state and the prosecutor called me once just to ask questions, then I never heard back from the prosecutor. Last I heard from kiddo's grandmother, the snake took a plea bargain, Dad got custody, and Grandma was enjoying a lot more time with kiddo. Am I the jerk for telling my housemate his girlfriend can't stay here anymore? I share an apartment with a friend I've known for years. We're both male 24. We've had this place for over a year and haven't had any real issues. We get along well and do heaps together. He works full-time, I'm a university student, and we split all bills, food, and rent down the middle. We hate the idea of shared houses and just wanted to feel like a home. A few months ago, he started seeing a girl, T, who spends every day and night at our place. T is also a university student and she can't stand her studio apartment. Until recently, I've had no issue with T being here and have never even asked her to pay for anything. She eats all meals at our place and takes food to uni if she needs. The way I see it, housemate and I just buy a bit more food and it really doesn't matter. The other week, I got home from uni, went to the kitchen to make a coffee. I had an assignment I needed to work on, so I wanted to pick me out. And when I opened the fridge, I noticed some Red Bulls. I just assumed my housemate had bought them for us, so I grabbed one and drank it. The next morning at breakfast, T opens the fridge and then got super angry that one of her Red Bulls was missing. I said it was me and that I thought my housemate had bought them. She started telling me how she bought them for herself and how I should have asked and that I needed to apologize for taking it. I was going to tell T that it's my fridge and I shouldn't have to ask if I can have stuff in it, but I didn't want to start conflict, so I just apologized. She demanded I buy her a replacement. Since then, she started labeling any drinks or food she brings for herself and makes a point of saying it's hers. After all this, I've said to my housemate that I don't want her staying at our place unless she's going to start paying rent, paying for bills, and pitching in to pay for food. I don't want to pay for her anymore, just so that she can mistreat me for taking a drink from my own fridge. Am I the jerk? Update. Just to address some of the common things I've been reading, also thanks all, it's nice to see only a few said I'm the jerk. I avoided saying anything at the time because my housemate and I are close to brothers, and I don't want to fight like this to make him have to pick. Honestly, I know he would dump her and stick with me. Housemate is a great guy, and I in no way think that he's trying to use me. When I've had girlfriends stay or we've had mates over, we've just kept to 50-50 as always. Sometimes people buy us food or pitch in as thanks, but we never expect it. He and I act more as family in a house rather than housemates, which is why it's never been an issue. T is very manipulative. As a side story, housemate and I always do a movie night once a week. It's our tradition and we love it. T has said she wants to join us, and then every time, around 30 minutes in, she will whisper something to him or act a certain way and draw him away to go in the other room. Honestly, it's peeved me a tad, as she is clearly just trying to assert some dominance there, but I also joke with the housemate about it. I have laughed at the few comments calling me a pushover, and I can see how it looks like that here. I normally am the first to stand up and react to something and can't stand people being rude. In this situation, it hasn't been an issue until this, and my desire to not cause an issue was less about her, more about not wanting conflict with the housemate. Since I talked to him about her needing to pay or leave, she has spent more time at her own place, but now just comes around and has the ability to destroy the mood in any room. I want them to separate. I think he can't see this lasting either, but she is hot and he doesn't think straight. Not the jerk. Your roommate may actually be violating the lease by letting another person stay over too much. But beyond that, you need to sit down with your roommate and try to set some reasonable visitation limits. Unfortunately, beyond getting the landlord to establish a no trespass on her, there's not much you can do to really enforce anything other than look for another place. Not the jerk. She has to chip in if she's staying over that much. It's still your house and your fridge. Petty solution. Write up all the things she consumes and present her with a bill, or demand that she buys you a replacement. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or the girlfriend? Please let us know. I want to know why she's drinking Red Bulls. Monster for the win, bruh. Am I the jerk for saying that I don't love my niece to her face? I know the title makes it look bad, but hear me out. I, 26 female, have a niece, Laura, who's 8, through my sister, Kim, who's 33, and another niece, Amy, who's 6, through my brother, Tom, who's 35. I know my siblings love their kids wholeheartedly, but when it comes to parenting, they each have different styles. This comes from the way that we were all brought up by our parents who used the "because I'm the parent and you're my kid, obey me without question" mindset that we all resented. Kim is the type of mother who just can't seem to say the word no, while Tom will at least give an explanation as to why. While Amy is a sweet, energetic girl, she does listen and know to respect people's rules and boundaries. Laura does not. Laura is entitled. Laura is impatient. Laura is whiny. Laura will go through a massive tantrum if she is denied anything and will get progressively worse the longer she's denied because she knows her mom will cave eventually. I haven't watched Laura since she was 6 and it was a nightmare. She yelled, screamed, kicked me, drew on the walls, and broke one of my framed pictures, all because I made her dinner instead of getting her fast food. Kim did apologize for Laura, but shrugged off the idea of giving out a punishment, citing that kids will be kids. Never again would I be responsible for my niece again. Amy, on the other hand, may need to be told something more than once, but ultimately is a respectful kid. I definitely babysit for Tom multiple times and do fun activities with Amy when I can. The coming August, before the start of school, I was planning on going with some friends to the Mouse Kingdom in Florida. Due to life events, they dropped out, but I still wanted to go and asked Tom if he and his wife would be down to come with me, and I'd go 50-50 on everything with them. They were delighted, and we all decided to go. Obviously, Kim found out and wanted to come too, but we all knew she couldn't afford it, so I thought everything was settled. Well, Laura found out, and at our family dinner, she was super upset about Amy getting a surprise trip, but not her. She then looked at me and said, "Auntie, you have a nice job and no kids. You can pay everything." I told her that while I may make more money than her mom, I can't pay for everyone by myself. Laura said, "Yes, you can. You had money to pay for that car." She pointed to my new car in the driveway. "You can pay for me and my mummy to go too." I refused and cued the tantrum. It was awful, and she kept screaming, Why? And saying that if I really loved her, I'd make her happy by paying for the trip over and over. I kept refusing and she got worse before I finally snapped and yelled back that I didn't love her. Ouch. That she was a mean girl and that I didn't like being around her. That definitely shut her up for a moment before she started to sob and cry. Kim is berating me for being so heartless and that I'm evil for favoring one niece over the other. Am I the jerk? Bruh. Edit for clarification. 1. Yes, I am aware that Laura's behavior is on Kim's choice of parenting. 2. Yes, Tom and I have spoken to Kim about Laura's behavior more than once, but it falls on deaf ears. At the end of the day, we have no authority over Laura, so there's only so much that we can do. 3. Laura doesn't have a dad, and Kim is a single mom, which is why she can't afford the trip. 4. I wasn't negotiating with Laura, I just kept saying no, but that wasn't good enough for her. I tried to walk away, but she would keep following me, demanding that I pay. 5. I didn't tell Kim about the trip, and neither did Tom. But we did tell our aunt, and I think that's how Kim found out. 6. No, Amy didn't tell Laura because it was supposed to be a surprise. Everyone sucks here except your niece. She's just an annoying kid. You're an adult, you should know better. ETA, you're aware she's learning this from your sister? So why aren't you talking to her instead of being mean to the kid? Wow, that took a turn. You're the jerk. Saying those words to a kid was massive jerk move. This is a very sad post. Of course you're the jerk. The way you keep defending yourself in comments makes me believe you aren't going to gain anything from this experience. You were cruel to that kid. Hard stop. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her niece? Please let us know. Hey, at least she told her the truth. You want me to only go on my break when you tell me to? Okay, I'll do just that. This malicious compliance happened years ago, and I remembered it while writing a YouTube comment. At the time, I was either in or just out of high school, and I made money by bagging groceries at the local supermarket. This job was very interesting, and there were a slew of terrible people employed at my location. But this story only has a cast of 2 people. Me, the overworked, underpaid grocery bagger, and my jerk of a supervisor. Let's call him Ray. Ray was an absolute jerk to everyone in the store, and nobody liked him. His shenanigans actually birthed my first romantic relationship, but that's a story for another day. The way my days at this job worked was I'd show up for a shift, clock in, and go up to whoever was supervising the front end that day. We had a rotation of 3 to 4 supervisors, and I was cool with almost all of them because I actually did my job, and asked them what the roster for the day looked like, who's here, when are we going home, if anyone's coming in, and breaks. I was particularly interested in my break time according to the roster, so I can plan my shift accordingly. Ray was one of those supervisors, and for some reason, he hated when people would ask when their break was. Somebody would ask, and then he'd scream about, "When it's your break time, I'll let you know." Which might have worked for the cashiers, but not us baggers, as we'd be all over the store and also getting carts. One day, I asked him when I'm supposed to go on my break, and he blew up on me, saying that he'll let me know when it's time for my break. I work the rest of my shift and tell someone else I'm going on my break at a reasonable time, and while there's coverage. I come back from the break, and he stopped me again to tell me he's in charge of the breaks. I say nothing and finish my shift. Cue malicious compliance. A few days later, he and I are working again. I know he's gonna scream about breaks again, so I just don't ask. After all, he'll let me know, right? So instead of talking to the supervisor, which that day was Ray, and letting him know I'm here, I just start working. And I continue working, and then I work some more. Finally, I realize 7 of my 8 hours have gone by, and I haven't had a single break. But Ray never did let me know it was time for my break. A few minutes after I thought this, Ray somehow finds out I've been working 7 hours today with no break, and he comes running up, screaming at me about how I didn't take a break, and how dare I and the company's gonna get into major trouble because they worked me 7 hours without a break, and then asked why I never took my break. I responded with, "Well, Ray, you said you'll let me know when it was time for my break, and you never let me know, so I never took a break." He exploded again and screamed at me to take my break now, and I finally took my 15-minute break, worked another half hour before clocking out to go home. Ray kept being a jerk about everything, but he always gave me my break times in advance for the next few months until he threw another fit at someone else and walked out of that store for good. Everyone else was completely amicable, and after Ray left, I had no problems with breaks again. Am I the jerk for walking out on my job with no warning when I'm one of the only employees? For context, I, female 18, have been working at this coffee shop for over 2 years now. I close 4 days a week with only me and one manager left to run the store from about 2 p.m. to close. The other 3 days, a kid, a guy who's 16, closes with a different manager. This is about the only staff we have, excluding the owner, who will never close. Another kid, who's 19, who can only work day shifts due to college, another kid who's also 18 who works days and does night classes, and a grown man who works in the back baking all morning, and he has another job in the afternoon, making him only available in the mornings. So they very clearly need me working there with them. I've been there for a while now, and I really don't mind the people. They can be a bit rude sometimes, but I'm super shy and don't talk much anyway, so I stay out of everyone's way and just get all my work done. Anytime I've worked with my manager, she tells me about how I'm the best employee she's worked with, and she likes how I just get stuff done. Fast forward to a week ago. I went inside of work on one of my days off to say hi, order a coffee, and get a sandwich. I'm a vegetarian. I've struggled a lot with food and being able to eat enough for my whole life, and I always had a hard time not getting grossed out when eating meat. So I stopped, and my relationship with food got so much better. So I ordered a grilled cheese and got my coffee and I left. I was driving away and I went to take a bite. I take one swallow and it's fine. When I went to take another, I felt a super gross texture and I instantly spit out my food and pulled it apart. They put chicken in my sandwich. They know my diet and what I normally order. I was so upset, but thought it was a mistake, so I took the loss on the $3 sandwich, felt a little gross, and moved on. The next day when I went into work, when I get there, there's normally a shift change, so I get to see my other coworkers as they leave. I was talking to a guy in the break room while getting ready to work, and he was about to leave. I casually made a little joke about how I'm never coming to this place again after they got my order wrong, just trying to mock rude customers, and I told him about my grilled cheese I ordered and how it came with meat. He laughed and told me that was actually our manager that made me that, and it wasn't an accident. She wanted to pull a prank on me and make me try the chicken because she said it's delicious, and she even gave it to me free of charge. After he told me what she said, I packed up all my stuff, took my hat and apron off, and told the manager what I heard, how I'm done, and how disrespectful that was to do. I'm still getting calls and texts telling me how rude it was to leave with no 2 weeks notice, and how much this shows that I'm just petty and I can't take a joke. They are so short-staffed now that they close early, and I know it's affecting their business. So, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. What she did is food tampering. I believe that it's against health regulations and it can be a crime in some places. I don't know the rules where you live. Not the jerk. 2 weeks is a courtesy, not a legal requirement. This established stopped deserving your courtesy when your manager played a prank on you, forcing you to eat something you don't eat. You burned that reference, but given how crappy they're being about this, they probably weren't going to give you a good reference anyway. Not the jerk. They're lucky you're not suing them. It's never okay to mess with someone's food. They didn't know whether you had an allergy or some other health issue. That was not a prank, it was bullying. Good on you for standing up for yourself. I wouldn't have had the confidence at your age. Both are jerks. You don't mess with someone's order intentionally, but you also don't walk out of your job without notice. If you gave notice on the spot, I'd be fine, but not quitting with no notice. You won't be getting a good reference from there, obviously. Everyone sucks here. What your manager did sucks. Pranks that are good-humored are usually fine, but they can go too far and it can be upsetting. But you suck too, because you just walked out, costing your business money and punishing your coworkers. You both behaved very childishly, and you could have been the bigger person. Easier said than done sometimes, but still. Side note, just walking out like that will look really bad when you apply for future jobs, because if they call the manager and hear about what you did, you're out of luck. Well, what do you think? Is OP a jerk for quitting on the spot or not? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for charging a $70 fee to family members who last minute canceled their RSVPs to my wedding? I, 26, female, just got married to my husband, who's 30, male. I have a rocky relationship with most of my family on my mother's side. I haven't seen my mother in roughly 7 or 8 years. We haven't spoken, the typical strained mother-daughter relationship. Regardless, I chose to invite some of my family from my mother's side to attend my wedding. It was small, so I wanted the important family to be there. While I by no means have great relationships with the people on that side of the family, they did a lot for me when I was younger, and I wanted them to be a part of this special day. My mother was not invited for a number of reasons. She's known to steal the spotlight and cause problems. Plus, she has openly shot down and berated my husband to family members, despite never meeting him on the basis that he is an artist, and that's how he makes a living. He makes far more a year than she ever has, a little ironic. So inviting her was just not a smart choice. Anyways, after sending invitations, word of course gets out on that side of the family that I'm getting married. I get a call from my cousin about 3 weeks before the wedding. She wanted to warn me that my mother had decided, for whatever twisted reason in her mind, to get married to her fiancé of now a couple of years on the exact same date. Keep in mind that my wedding was planned 8 months in advance. A week before my wedding, I get a call from one of my aunts on that side explaining that she will be unable to attend due to a family matter that has arisen. Code word for my mother's wedding, of course. As soon as I got that first call, I sent out a mass email to everyone explaining that anyone else who cancels last minute who has already RSVP'd will be charged $70 due to the catering and venue fees that would be wasted on them not being present. I would be able to enforce this given that all parties had to pay an additional $25 for each room that we booked for them at the hotel. So I had all their information, and they were made aware of that charge. We paid for the rest of their room fees, by the way. Logically, I wasn't actually planning on enforcing this. It was just more of an I know what you were all doing and I'm really mad about it move. So I spent about 2 days after that email dealing with nonstop phone calls from family on that side saying they had to cancel, and it was absolutely ridiculous that I was forcing them to pick a side. I told them that they had RSVP'd to my wedding months before my mother's, and coming to mine was also just blatant common courtesy. Long story short, that entire side did not show up, aside from my cousin who warned me of the whole thing. I'm still debating actually charging their cards $70, but I think it's too petty, and being honest, waiting and even thinking about this on my honeymoon isn't fun. I spent the second night in France crying on my husband's shoulder over this. So, am I the jerk? Update. I will not be charging the cards because fraud. Thanks everyone for reminding me that those charges do exist and that my mother's side would most likely press them. Not the jerk, but cut all contact with everyone but the cousin that warned you. What a bunch of horrible people to be related to. Everyone sucks here. Congratulations, you played straight into your mother's hands and made yourself look like the unreasonable one instead of her. I'm sorry it cost you this much to learn that you can't count on your family of origin, but literally charging them for it will not fix or change that. Forget them and focus on the family you're building with your husband instead. Am I the jerk for hurting my mom's feelings? My kids, who are 12 and 8, are in gymnastics and eat a high-protein diet. Most of what they eat is meat and dairy. They usually have yogurt and fruit or turkey bacon for breakfast. My son is old enough to make his own lunch, so I let him make whatever he wants. Even though I don't supervise his choices, he almost always makes something like a chicken and cheddar sandwich on whole grain bread or tuna salad. My daughter is learning to make her own lunches too and usually copies her brother. Dinners are usually fish, steak, chicken, or turkey with a vegetable. My mom came to visit yesterday and we took her out to dinner to a nice steakhouse. My son got steak and mushrooms, which comes with a baked potato, but he asked for it to be substituted for a side salad. My daughter got surf and turf, which also came with a potato, which is fine. My mom teased my son for ordering a salad, which annoyed him. I told her to stop. She also tried to get my daughter to order off the kids' menu, but my daughter wanted shrimp and refused. I again told my mom to let them eat what they want. This morning, my mom made pancakes for breakfast before any of us got up. When my son woke up, he went to the fridge and got yogurt and blueberries. My mom told him to put them back because the pancakes were almost done. My son refused. They started arguing, which is when I came out, and again told my mom to cut it out. She said it was rude to get something from the fridge when someone is cooking for you. I said that the kids can eat what they like. When my daughter came out, she got some yogurt and sat with her brother to split the blueberries. My husband and I ate the pancakes, but my mom was upset. She said she wanted to take us all out to lunch to thank us for dinner. She took us to a pizza place. My son wanted the chicken parmesan. My mom said, "No, he'll have pizza." I told the waiter to bring us the chicken parmesan on a separate check and I'll pay for it. My mom, again, accused me of being rude. My daughter asked for a slice of Meat Lover's pizza. My mom gave me a smug look and praised my daughter, which I could tell annoyed my son. When the food arrived, my daughter asked for some of my son's because it looked yummy. My mom said, "No, eat your pizza." My daughter said, "I will. I want to try the chicken." My son cut her a portion and put it on her plate. He said, "I'll try some of your pizza too, so Grandma stops being mean to me." My mom scowled at him and told me to reprimand him, but I refused and said she was, in fact, being mean to him, and kids aren't stupid and can tell when someone is rude to them. The rest of lunch was awkward, and now my mom is hiding in the guest room. Husband thinks I should clear the air with my mom before the kids get back from practice. He said I didn't help anything and should apologize, otherwise I might as well get her a hotel because the rest of the trip will be miserable. I may have been hard on her. Was I a jerk to my mom? Not the jerk. Why is your mom so set on controlling what the kids are eating? Isn't it better that they're at least picking healthy options versus gorging themselves on sweets? OP. I think she doesn't approve of their activities and is trying to prove something to me. She thinks they aren't having a real childhood. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Grandma? Please let us know.
Tell Grandma she can take us out for pizza whenever she likes. I could really go for some CC's right now.
Am I the jerk for demanding my neighbors return my daughter's bike that she gave them? Yesterday, I noticed my daughter, 12, came home without her bike, looking a little upset. I asked her where her bike was, and she said she gave it to her friend who lives across from us. Now, I'll be honest, I was upset to hear that she gave away her bike as I'm a single mother of 8. Side note, don't judge me. Only 4 of my kids are biologically mine. The rest I adopted due to my friend passing and my sister's mental health problems. I worked extremely hard to get my daughter that bike. It was literally over $1,000, but my daughter really wanted it and loves it, so it was also a surprise to me. But I let it go, because at the end of the day, I bought my daughter that bike. It's not up to me to control what my daughter decides to do with it. Later that day, I hear my daughter crying in her room, so I knock on her door to make sure she's okay. She broke down and admitted that her friend's mom pressured her into giving away her bike, even though she didn't want to. Now my daughter has already given her friend her old bike after she upgraded, so I honestly don't understand how selfish this woman is. The next day, I went over to the neighbor's house to speak to the mom without my daughter and demanded she return the bike, telling her that she better return the bike or I will report it as stolen and that she had no right stealing my daughter's bike from her. She denied stealing it, but in the end gave my daughter's bike back. She told me that I'm a psycho jerk who clearly has issues and that she doesn't want her daughter involved with people like me, so she'll no longer be allowing her daughter around mine. When I told my daughter that, she became really upset and blamed it on me. My daughter was really close to the neighbor's daughter and is now mourning losing a friend. I now feel like I approached the whole situation wrong and that I could have been more sensitive about the whole issue in order to salvage the friendship. Your daughter is 12, so any agreement she makes with an adult is not valid. That's your bike, not your daughter's. By the way, you have 8 kids and you have a $1,000 bike for a 12-year-old? What? When she gave it away, you initially just let the issue go? Are you okay in the head? Your daughter is upset. Big whoop. You'll see her upset 1,000 more times. It's life. She'll be fine. OP. I'm always trying to evolve with my parenting. I just feel like if I give my daughter something, then I don't own it anymore, as it would be with anyone else. But I can see your point, and I could always learn and improve. My daughter is a really athletic person. I try my best to encourage her in whatever she loves doing. She's currently in boxing classes and also does cycling with a group of kids her age. Mailman wasn't trying to deliver my packages, I got revenge. For context, in my country, if your package gets sent through the National Post Service, you're basically done for. It takes 200 years and they never actually deliver it. I don't know how it is in other countries, but here they're supposed to ring the doorbell if the package doesn't fit the mailbox, and if you don't answer, they leave a notice and you have to go pick it up all the way at the post office. The problem is that my mailman doesn't even try to deliver them. He just leaves the notice without even ringing the doorbell and leaves. I've had to pick up nearly every package I've ordered because of that. Well, this time it was my last straw. I was obviously home because of lockdown. Suddenly, I received a call that immediately hung up. It was so fast that my phone didn't even ring, just showed up as a missed call. No doorbell, no nothing. I suspected it was the mailman and ran to the door only to find him inside the truck, looking straight at me before driving off. Well, I was upset and I called the post office to file a complaint. I explained the situation and the lady told me that I couldn't file a complaint because they are only instructed to ring the doorbell and calling is optional, and I couldn't prove that he didn't ring it. At first, I just avoided using them again at all costs, but the other day I ordered something and chose a delivery company from the ones listed on the website. Apparently, that company hires the National Post Service to deliver for them here. When I found out, I basically stalked the tracking info for days. It was about 2 weeks late. Until one day, late at night, it said it had arrived in my country, which usually means that the next day it's going to be delivered. The next day, I woke up at 7 a.m. to check. My suspicions were correct. It said, out for delivery. I quickly grabbed something to eat, got in my car, and parked right outside of my house. Then I waited and waited and waited. 6 hours in total until I finally see the post truck pulling over. I grabbed my phone to record and watched as the mailman opened the door, already with a notice in his hand, and slid it inside my mailbox and turned around. I got out of the car and said, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" He didn't even look at me and said, "Just delivering packages, miss." Then I stood there as that jerk grabbed his phone to call me and quickly hung up. I smiled as I took my phone out of my pocket and sarcastically stated, "Oh, bummer. You didn't even give time to reach for the phone." He literally turned white. He couldn't even speak. I continued, "Now, can you give me my package, please?" He quickly opened the truck, almost tripped, and took out my package. "See, wasn't that easier than your whole scheme?" He finally manages to say, "Sorry, miss." I turned around and left. He probably thought he got lucky I didn't say anything else, but little did he know that I sent the video to the post office via email attached to my complaint. Well, let's just say I got a new mailman. This one tries to leave 1 second after ringing the doorbell, but at least he rings. Edit. 1. Everyone saying I should just install a camera. That would work, yes, but then he would leave with the package and I would have to go pick it up. I wanted my package that day. 2. For everyone saying I got him fired, and that's not something to brag about. Firstly, as much as it isn't his fault and he's just following orders, he was not nice or professional. He literally saw me at the door one time and drove away while looking at me. Secondly, we don't even know if he was actually fired. I might be wrong, but I think here the regular mail carriers are considered public employees, which means they are rarely fired, just transferred to a different job.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.